Welcome. In this session, I'm going to discuss about neural control and coordination synopsis. So, under this chapter, I'm going to discuss about nervous system in humans. Nervous system in human beings. Here, before we go, let's see a few meanings. So, what actually is this coordination? The meaning of coordination is the process through which two or more organs, so two or more organs interact and complement the complement the functions of one another. It's a two or more organs interaction and complementing the functions of one another is what we call coordination. Now in human beings, this control and coordination, the control and coordination is brought by two systems. One is nervous system and another one is endocrine system. So these are the two systems that bring the control and coordination. Now, before going to see this nervous system, in this chapter, I'm going to discuss about the nervous system. In the next chapter, we will see about endocrine system. So now coming into this nervous system, so one more word meaning we need to know called irritability. So what is irritability? So this irritability is the ability of organism. So it's a ability of organism to respond to various stimuli, to various stimuli. So this irritability is always adaptive. So this is adaptive and it increases the chances. So it increases the chances of survival of an organism. So irritability is the ability of organism to respond to various stimuli, right? So these stimuli may be the differences in the temperatures in the external environment, okay, or inside or internal conditions. So whatever that, or to detect those stimuli and responding to them is the condition what we call irritability. Now let us see the components of nervous system. Components of nervous system. So here the nervous system is mainly composed of two parts. One is central nervous system, central nervous system, and another one is peripheral nervous system. So this in short we call it CNS and this we call it PNS. The central nervous system mainly includes, okay, two parts under this. One is brain and another one is spinal cord. Now the nerves arising from this central nervous system, they constitute the peripheral nervous system. So I simply say that all nerves arising from from brain and spinal cord, So all nerves arising from brain and spinal cord will constitute the peripheral nervous system. Now, of course, the nerves that arise from the brain, nerves from brain, so they are called cranial nerves, and the nerves that arise from the spinal cord, so they are called the spinal nerves, right? So this peripheral nerve system is classified again into two more types. Okay, so the nerves, we can classify them into somatic nervous system and another one called autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system, so in short we call SNS, and the autonomic nervous system called ANS. The somatic nervous system, this one, it will relay, so impulses it relays impulses from central nervous system to skeletal muscles to skeletal muscle. So it relays impulses from central nervous system to skeletal muscles, and that comes all under the somatic nervous system. Now coming to autonomic nervous system, this will transmit impulses from again CNS to involuntary involuntary muscles. So it sends information from CNS to involuntary muscles. That will be the autonomic nervous system. And this autonomic nervous system will include two more parts, that is ANS will have two more parts. One is called sympathetic nervous system and another one called the parasympathetic. So this I'll discuss in coming classes about sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So this is how the whole nervous system in human is classified, so mainly into central and peripheral nervous system. Of course, this nervous system, you can also call it a neural system, also called neural system. So this neural system is composed of some specialized cells. So the neural system, it consists of specialized neural cells, or I say specialized cells, and those are called neurons. And these neurons have the ability to detect, receive, and transmit different kinds of stimuli. The neural organization, it's very simple in case of lower vertebrates, and for the first time this neural system seems to appear in in a group called coelentrates, so it appears in coelentrates for the first time. Okay, so we say that the neural system appeared or developed started to develop in the coelentrates or the cnidarian group for the first time, right? And as the evolution progressed, there is better development of the neural system, and in case of humans we have a very highly evolved neural system. Okay, and here with these neurons there are other cells which actually support, and they are not the neurons, they are supporting cells to the neurons, and we call them uh, right, the glial cells. So there is a glial formation that we see in case of a higher organization of this neural system, right? So that's, I say here, the vertebrates. So these coelentrates are invertebrates. So the vertebrates have a more developed neural system. So more developed neural system, right? So now uh, let us see this human neural system, what it consists of. So coming to the human neural system, of course I was talking about earlier also about a human neural system, and not only in human neural system, so that classification is almost similar to all other organisms who have this nervous system. Now coming to this human neural system, so this will also have the same central nervous system, and it will also have the peripheral nervous system. And this central nervous system will includes the two parts, that is brain and spinal cord, whereas this peripheral nervous system will have, okay, two types of nerves. So here I'm talking about two types of nerves. One, I call them right, the afferent fibers. I told you already that all the nerves that arise from the brain and spinal cord together constitute. So that I say the nerves of brain plus the nerves of spinal cord. So these together constitute the peripheral nervous system. And they have a peripheral nervous system has afferent fibers and efferent fibers. So the afferent fibers are also called uh, sensory nerve fibers, whereas efferent fibers are also called the motor nerve fibers. We know sensory nerve fibers will carry information from sensory organs to, okay, brain or spinal cord. So it carries information from brain or spinal cord, whereas the motor fibers, they will carry information from brain or spinal cord to effector organs. So they are called motor nerve fibers. So the peripheral nerve system will consist of these two. And I told you that this peripheral nerve system has two parts, that is already I mentioned somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. And the somatic neural system relays impulses from central nervous system to skeletal muscles. Of course, we will see those things in the coming sessions in detail, as I already have given you a brief classification of the human neural system. So next, I have told you that there is, of course, the peripheral nervous system. So under the peripheral nervous system, we have two parts. One, somatic neural system or nervous system, and another one called autonomic nervous system. So under this somatic nervous system, so we have okay, and one more nervous or neural system, we call it visceral neural system. It's called visceral nervous system. This I will classify in another way by taking different sensory and motor divisions. So instead of this, right, I will be taking sensory division. So under the peripheral nervous system, so because I said that all the nerves that arise from the peripheral nervous system, I'm sorry, from the central nervous system constitute the peripheral nervous system. So all nerves from central nervous system, they constitute peripheral nervous system. So this peripheral nervous system will have a sensory division, so which is capable of receiving the information from the sensory organs, and it also has a motor division, so where it includes the motor nerves, and this includes the sensory nerves. Under the sensory division, actually we have somatic somatic sensory, and another one is the visceral sensory. And under the motor division, we will take the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. So this is the actual classification of the peripheral nervous system. So you can see here the visceral sensory part, so that constitutes the visceral sensory I mean sorry visceral nervous system. So that is visceral nervous system, that is visceral sensory. And this visceral nervous system is the, as I told, it's a part of peripheral nervous system, and this is a complex of nerves. Okay, then it includes even the fibers, and it includes ganglia. So these ganglia are cell bodies of neurons, ganglion cell bodies of neuron. Then we also have plexuses. So a plexus is a network of nerves. So these are all the one that will be included under visceral nervous system. Okay, and here the impulses will travel from, so the impulses will travel from central nervous system to viscera. So these viscera are internal organs, are internal organs, and from the viscera the information gets back to central nervous system. So that's, I'll mention in this way. From the central nervous system, the impulses will travel to viscera. From viscera, the impulses will travel back to central nervous system. And now the structural and functional unit of neural system. So the structural and functional unit of neural system is neuron. Now let us see the structure of neuron. There are different types of neurons. Among them, I'm going to discuss about a multipolar neuron. So later, I'll discuss about other types of neurons also. So multipolar neuron. So let's see its structure. So this multipolar neuron, it mainly has three major parts. So one, it is the cell body, and another one is dendrites. So it has dendrites, and third one is axon. So the cell body is also called perikaryon, is also called soma. So let's see the structure of the neuron. So here the cell body shows a lot of short fibers that branch out from the cell body. So you can see here, so there is a branching. So it shows a lot of branching, and these are all called dendrites. So you can see here, so this is all branching. See, this is how it looks like. So this is the cell body. So this is cell body, and we find here a nucleus inside the cell body, the nucleus, and along with that you will find there are so many structures called Nasels granules. So these Nasels granules even extend into the extensions of the cyton, and they are called the dendrites. So you can see here the Nasels granules are present even in dendrites. So they are present even in dendrites. So these are dendrites, and this is nucleus, and these structures are called Nasels granules, So these Nasels granules named after a person named Franz Nasel, and these Nasels granules are actually rough endoplasmic reticulum with ribosomes. So they are rough endoplasmic reticulum with ribosomes, and that forms an site for active site for protein synthesis. So it's an active site for protein synthesis. So you will find Nasels granules only in the cyton and dendrites. You will not find in axon at all. So this is the axon, and the point where the axon begins from the cyton, uh, right, or the cell body is called axon hillock. It's called axon. And here one important point, the longest axon is that of sciatic nerve. So you will find the longest axon in the sciatic nerve, which will run from base of a spinal cord to big toe of each foot. And this axon is covered by squam cells. So it is covered by squam cells. So here, so you can see this is the squam cell covering. So it spirals around the axon. So it is it is present in a way, okay, I mean that it spirals around the axon. So this is how you will see the squam cells, and that is the nucleus of those squam cells. So this is the squam cell. Now these squam cells usually form myelin sheath, or they may not form myelin sheath. So squam cells form myelin. So if myelin is formed, then the neuron will become myelinated neuron. If squam cell doesn't form the myelin, then it is called unmyelinated neuron. Now if you take a transverse section here, passing through the squam cell, so let's see the transverse section passing through the squam cell, so then how it looks like. So here this portion is axon, and around this is the squam cell, and you can see the squam cell, how it is present. So it is wrapping around the axon. So you can see here how it is present, and here is the end, and this will contain the nucleus of the squam cell. So this is the nucleus of squam cell, right? And this central portion is axon. So this is how it wraps. So we may not be able to see it properly when we see it from the lateral view. Only in the transverse section we will be able to see how the squam cell wraps around the axon. So this is the transverse section of axon passing through the squam cell, right? And of course the plasma membrane of the axon is called axolemma, and the cytoplasm is called axolemma, that we will see it later. And this axon is divided into axon terminals. So they are divided into axon terminals, and these axon terminals end with synaptic knobs. They end with the synaptic knobs, and these synaptic knobs will have inside the synaptic vesicles. So these are called the synaptic vesicles, and the synaptic vesicles inside will contain neurotransmitters like acetylcholine. So I think we have seen a little portion in our previous session in locomotion and movement, where there is neuromuscular junction. So it is this synaptic knob that forms the neuromuscular junction, and that will contain synaptic vesicles, and the synaptic vesicles in turn will contain neurotransmitters. So there are different types of neurotransmitters that we will see in this chapter. So the most commonly found neurotransmitter is that acetylcholine. And next, one more point here, I would like to tell about this myelin. So in this myelin, so this myelin is a lipid-rich substance. So it is a lipid-rich substance that is formed in the squam cells. So if it is the case, then I told that it is called myelinated neuron, and this myelin acts as insulator. so it acts as insulator. So the transmission of impulse will be very fast in case of the myelinated neuron. So in myelinated neuron, the transmission is very fast, whereas in non-myelinated, the impulse transmission is very slow. And you can see here the impulse will be moving from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier, and this is called saltatory transmission of nerve impulse, or I say that it is a saltatory movement. This we'll discuss later. Okay, how the transmission of impulse takes place along the axon. Right. So now let us see types of neurons. So mainly we see three types of neurons. One, it is called the multipolar neuron, and another one called the bipolar neuron, and the third type is called the unipolar neuron. So here we can see the diagrams of these different types of neurons. When coming to multipolar neurons, we will see here in this case there will be one axon. So you can see here one axon, and we will find here two or more dendrites. So there will be one axon and two or more dendrites will be seen in case of multipolar neurons, and these multipolar neurons are found in cerebral cortex. So these are mostly seen in, okay, present in cerebral cortex. So they are present in cerebral cortex. So there is one axon, you can see here one axon, and you see here two or more dendrites. Of course here there are a lot of dendrites present here. Okay, so that is one axon. So here the pole, so polar, which means there are, so how many poles you will get from the cyton. So here many dendrites on one side and one axon, I mean right on one side. So that makes it multipolar neuron. Coming to the bipolar neuron, so these bipolar neurons will have one axon and one dendrite. So you can see here there is one dendrite that of course later it gets branched, that's a different case. Directly from the cyton, if it forms many branches, then it will become multipolar. But in this case you see only, okay, two poles from the cyton. So one you have one dendrite that later branched off. That's a different case. And here is another okay, pole that comes from the cyton, and it's a axon. So the bipolar neurons will have one axon and one dendrite. So these are found in retina of eye, found in retina of eye. Coming to the unipolar neurons. So these unipolar neurons will have only one pole. So that will have with one axon only, with one axon only. So it is having only one axon, and this type of neurons are found only in embryonic stages, only in embryonic stages. So you can see in this case, right, so there is only one pole that arises from the cyton. So in this case there are many okay poles arising from the cyton, okay, so dendrites, and on one side one axon arising. So that's multipolar. So in case of bipolar, okay, this is one pole, right, and this is another pole. And coming in this case there is only one pole. Of course that later may divide okay into two branches, and some of them may right form the dendrites and some the axon terminals. So this is about the unipolar neurons, which are found only in embryonic stages. Right, so with this, I would like to stop here, and in the next session, we shall see about the generation and conduction of a nerve impulse in a detailed manner.